welcome back to the channel, everybody. So my last video up here was about those jobs that I thought were at risk of disappearing as a result of AI. And I think hopefully, if you haven't looked at the video, have a look. I also give you some tips and tricks on things you might be able to do to mitigate some of those risks and find new roles in the industry that you're in. Now, I guess the hard truth is that I don't think there are any jobs that aren't going to be impacted in some way by AI. But I think there are some roles that have very low exposure to AI and probably robotics. And I think over the next 5 to 10 years, we'll be pretty safe from the onslaught that we're going to get from AI. So this video is about identifying those jobs that I think are low exposure to AI. I'm going to go through, tell you why I think that, where I got the information from, and hopefully we'll give you some pointers into the type of roles where you can go into, hopefully where they are pretty safe from the onslaught from AI. Let's get into it. Okay, so how did I do this? So I used the ILO 2025 Task Level Exposure Index for generative AI, and I cross-checked that with the OECD 2024 on who's affected. Plus, I looked at McKinsey's work on automation and the ONS and talked to people in business, etc., to come up with these roles that I think are likely to be less touched by AI. Not completely zero touch, but less touched by AI and still be around in 5-10 years, etc. Let's jump in. Okay, so the top 5 jobs that I think will be not particularly affected by AI are electricians, plumbers, gardeners, childcare workers, especially early years, hairdressers. Why? Because they are on site, they are not behind a computer desk, they are interacting with humans and require dexterity and rapport and that human interaction activity. And I think that's not possible to sort of drag out of a computer at this time. So those jobs, I think, are pretty safe. Now, I think that AI can help all of those jobs. So if you're an electrician, I think working out schematics, doing plans, invoicing, all of those sorts of things, getting your website up and running, doing SEO, all of those things that are not putting holes in people's walls and making sure you've got a safe electrical installation, or if you're a plumber, making sure that the water doesn't leak or your gas boiler doesn't explode. I think all of those things remain human, but there's loads that AI can do to make your life as a business person even more effective. Same goes for hairdressers, managing bookings, scheduling time, orders, those sorts of things. AI can absolutely help. In the childcare setting, really interesting that, and I know my grandsons are going off to childcare while their parents go back to work. And obviously, these are the most precious things that we have in our lives, our children. And so having a human that you trust to look after that child while you're not there is probably one of the most important jobs and one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make as a parent. So I think those jobs remain incredibly safe, but all the admin materials that are created for those children to play with, etc., I think AI can help a lot with those. But that individual human interaction, especially with our most precious humans, I think that's going to stay a human interaction for a long time before we're handing over our children to a robot. Let me know. Do you agree? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think that actually a lot of these jobs may well be taken over by AI? Let me know down below in the comments if you think that I've got it wrong. Always up for a conversation. Okay, my next 5 are those that have specific sort of skills like cooks, chefs, physiotherapists, healthcare assistants, people in healthcare. My wife's a mental health nurse, motor vehicle mechanics, people that make things like cabinet makers and joiners, etc. I think that we are a long way from these roles being taken over by technology. I think we really value that. If you think about a cook, for instance, we really value that ability to taste, to understand what tastes work, to understand how you put things together. So I think that chefs, etc., I think we're going to have chefs for a very long time. And the idea of a machine, I know in Japan, I think we've seen some automation of some food making, but I think people really value that human input into the preparation of our food. And I think that will be around for very many years. Things like physiotherapy. So I've got a bad arm, and if anyone's got any advice on how to solve my frozen shoulder, put it in the comments below. I'll be your friend forever, because it's bloody hurts. That understanding of the human body, how to manipulate it, what works, what doesn't, being able to manage a movement alongside pain. I think my shoulder is so sore. The idea of me giving it over to a machine to manipulate fills me with dread, and it's not going to happen. I think those particular skills that physiotherapists and chiropractors, etc., have, they're not going anywhere soon. And we really value that human input into the human state. I think that's really important. Same with people working in many areas of healthcare, especially that patient-focused areas. My wife is a mental health nurse, dealing with challenges with patients that can't be planned, can't be set out in advance, can't be taught, have to be responded to, don't necessarily follow logic. You can, in an emergency department, being able to deal with a crisis that comes in through the door, a human, maybe in pain, maybe having other problems, being able to knit all of that together. There is no doubt AI will make a big difference in healthcare. I have no doubt about that. It will help us to understand the breadth of data that we have and find new solutions to problems that we perhaps haven't thought of in the past. But that human to human contact, I can see no way of AI being able to step into that place anytime soon. Healthcare workers, I think, is safe quite a long time. Other areas where I think there is real protection against AI, things like motor vehicle mechanics. You can drive your car up to a garage, and some man or woman with specific skills on how automotive engines work, how machines work, what to expect, etc. I think the complexity of these machines and the physical nature of that activity means they're unlikely to be replaced by AI very quickly. I do believe that as cars become more technically advanced, they are more run by computers, that AI will be able to support them significantly. But I still think there's going to be a role for that mechanic physical interaction with the vehicle that AI is not going to be able to do anytime soon, or robotics is going to be able to do anytime soon. And then those things that we really value, sort of cabinet makers, potters, getting hold of holding a teapot or having a piece of furniture in your home. Those are things that are very physical, that are sort of one-offs. I've not seen that sort of 3D printing be able to make anything that's really beautiful that you want to have in your house, that doesn't take hours and hours and multiple goes, whereas skilled craftsmen can produce something that's beautiful and aesthetic and works in a smaller amount of time. So I think those jobs that use those skills, like painters and decorators, etc., that use those skills and eye and art, I think those jobs remain safe from AI, definitely for the time being. So there's my 10 got through that quite quickly. I think those unstructured environments, those environments like healthcare settings, vehicles, kitchens, etc., I think AI is going to find it very difficult to operate in those unstructured environments. Humans will always have a role, or will have a role for much longer. I think those roles that require dexterity, hairdressing, etc., makeup, and I've seen some sort of robot hairdressers. I'm not putting my head in one of those in a million years. It'll have to be much better than that before I'm asking a robot to give me a shave. I think there is real importance in that dexterity, that human engagement, etc. I think those are really important. And of course, I think there'll always be humans in the loop where safety is important and where there are life and death decisions and where human contact is needed. And so I think those roles is, so if you're thinking about a role, think about that engagement with individuals, with that engagement with humans, that importance of the decisions, the skill and dexterity required. The more of that that's in your role, the safer that role is likely to be. Okay, if you've enjoyed that video, don't forget to give me a like. And remember, this is a series of 3 videos. Already put up the video of those jobs that I think are at risk. Next video will be those jobs that I think perhaps don't exist now or exist but will increase enormously with the implementation of AI. So don't forget to watch that one next. If you're a member of the channel, that video will be available for you right now. If not, it'll be out next week. I've been the Professor. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.